Good morning, afternoon or evening, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. And if you are new around here and finding yourself on my channel for the first time today, don't forget to check out that subscribe button because I drop an update just like this one around 1 p.m. UK time every single day to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening within the crypto space, but also the broader markets. And we're going to be starting things off with a major piece of economic data that came out yesterday in regards to the CPI. Where have all the ding-dongs gone that were calling for the 1970s second wave of inflation? We've very much been against that camp, and we think, rather strangely, given the chaotic nature of the world that we live in, that things are going to be, what's a good word for non-chaotic? Non-chaotic we'll use in regards to the markets, and actually the Banana Republic is going to continue to be propagated, and we are going to see smooth seas for the markets. We're going to see interest rates come down because inflation is no longer an issue, which has been the driver of interest rates. Of course, yields are going to leave that. That's going to lower the DXY, and we're seeing some movements in regards to the DXY. The JPY, or the US JPY, Japanese yen trade, is starting to kind of come off a little bit, and we're seeing some pressures ease in regards to dollar strength at the moment. We even have the likes of JP Morgan on the back end of CPI now talking about how they are very much confident the Fed is going to start to cut rates in September. There was some news actually today in regards to the UK. Obviously, Labour are now in government, but I'm not going to go there. However, they are talking about upping minimum wage, which may mean that rates have to stay higher for longer. Now, that's largely hearsay at the moment, but there's an interesting kind of thing going on at the moment in regards to other countries are lowering their interest rates. The Fed will follow, but the Fed's playing that game of chicken because I know ultimately what happens when they start to lower interest rates, the dollar loses strength against other currencies, because the reason it went up against other currencies is because the dollar debt market is simply larger, meaning when you up the interest rates on them, you up the demand to a greater degree than other currencies. So we're going to start the video off there. We're then going to be looking at the DXY a little bit. We're going to be talking about the fact that Germany is now only left with 5,800 BTC, and this was down from 50,000. So the German government has well and truly dumped on the market rather than going OTC, which if I was a member of the German parliament or government, that's something I would have definitely advocated for because we could have got a better price for everybody and got more stuff out of it. And it's very dumb, I think, that they are essentially selling Bitcoin for something that they can print out of thin air. If, any German government individuals out there, get in touch with me. We can help you and your country. I do believe that, and I certainly love the German people. Been to Germany a number of times. Had a brother that worked for a big company over in Germany. But they're going to be talking about some Paxos news. So the SEC has now dropped the case against Paxos, who are the people behind BUSD, Binance's US dollar. Binance's US dollar, we're going to look at a tweet from Ranover from Crypto Banter because his frustration here is, I think, very warranted. And he talks about the fact that the SEC literally destroyed BUSD, which had over $10 billion in TVL and was making over $1 billion. And they essentially shut it down because Binance and CZ were basically for the wrong team. They couldn't control them. And that's what this is all about. That's what this enforcement, that's what the SEC's job, more than anything, more than protecting consumers, is all about. It's about protecting the United States' supremacy around the world from a number of standpoints. Also, Anzen, we interviewed these guys. They're coming out with a stable coin on Cardano. They were going to do it through Paxos. That had to be postponed. They're now coming back. And we'll look a little bit at Bitcoin technically. So, as always, guys, we've got a lot to get into. Let's start things off with the big event from yesterday. And that was, of course, CPI. So, CPI was expected to come in at 3.1. The prior one was 3.3. We've been having this sideways period of inflation. We haven't been in the ding-dong, long-schlong camp of inflation is going to be seeing a 1970s style move. We know that Volcker hiked rates very aggressively, perhaps eased too quickly, and we know the story there. But what people are very good at doing is looking at a previous scenario and applying it to a current one when the sort of equation of what caused that scenario to play out is just simply different. I've been in the inflation is going to be an issue. We're very much in the sort of soft landing camp or a no landing camp. And we took that stance on the markets, having sort of reassessed after being out for the majority of the bear market in 2022. We got back into the markets at the start of 2023. Literally the perfect bottom for Bitcoin, perfect bottom for many altcoins. We're waiting for sunshine to shine upon us. And actually, Tesla getting hit very hard today, but it's what you want to see to set up for that broader continuation. I think Tesla's going to double. Amazon's still got targets. Generally risk's going to do well. Gold's going to do well. Crypto's going to do even better. But inflation came down below. We actually saw disinflation in regards to month on month. Core CPI also down. Today, I think we've got PPIs. It's going to be interesting to see what they come out as. But obviously, as a result of all this, we also saw good GDP for the UK. This is, of course, affecting interest rate pricing, which inflation has been the main driver of. JP Morgan are now changing Fed rate cut call to September from November. We looked at this. You're not going to get a cut this month. I think that's very much a given at this point. However, September, looking very likely. And then actually going into November, the probabilities of 2 cuts are now likely. And we've said this. I think the Fed's going to ease off rate hikes or rates a lot quicker than people expect. Just to go back onto that topic, because again, this is another kind of what is a word that I can say here to not offend people? I'm not even going to try and find one, but people believe a pivot by the Fed is going to lead to a market crash. Now, that has been the case previously, but even in that context, not really, because the reason the Fed have pivoted is because something's already broken. It hasn't been the pivot itself that's led to a market crash. The pivot has been a symptom of the market's not doing too well. Unemployment's something to watch very closely at the moment. In regards to that hard landing scenario, my theory on unemployment is it's going to start to it's trending up at the moment, but it's not going to do a kind of moon shoot. It's going to start to come back down as they start to sort of ease conditions around the economy, which is going to ease liquidity, so on and so forth. But if you look at the past 5 times I've done it, we've shown you technically, you can't argue with the charts, guys. It's that simple. I don't know why people try to when it's factual. If you look at the past 5 times the Fed's lowered interest rates, only 2 of those 5 times has been in the back end of a shitstorm, which means that more times than not, the Fed lowering interest rates has actually been good for the markets. And I think today is a very similar scenario. Interestingly, our dollar thesis on the short term very much playing out. We looked at this rising wedge. Since we looked at that, it's very much played out perfectly. Now, we have a broader thesis on the dollar, which, of course, has spillover into the cryptocurrency market. We think the dollar is coming down to the lower band. I don't see anybody highlighting this channel. Of this channel that you've been in since 2008. We know it took place in 2008 and what's led since then. You're looking for this break on the dollar. It's a decision point. Oil in a similar position. If you look at the euro, looks very similar. Obviously, you've got the JPY. So actually, let's look at dollar euro. We've got all our stage analysis stuff on there. The courses are coming soon. Yen coming off a little bit, obviously on the back end of all this. And let's put up the Euro USD. You got this kind of breaking, if you want. I think this is going to break to the upside and dollar's going to break to the downside, and that's going to do well for risk. And obviously, fundamentally, what is going to be happening there? Well, interest rates. Let's not get into the yield markets and the sort of bond markets today. So an update, the German government did have 50,000 Bitcoin, and they've decided to dump them on the market and get a worse price and continue to bid against themselves. We've seen this largely gobbled up by ETFs. The Bitcoin ETFs, remember Ethereum ETF come in all technically a Sol ETF, very likely. Sol is probably Sol BTC's best BTC chart that there is. They're now left with basically a tenth of what they had. Well done, guys. You literally sold your Bitcoin at not a great time, and you deliberately diminished your price against it, which I think is just idiotic. But what do I know? So the good news is here, the sell pressure is coming to an end. It's been a large factor. Some really interesting news is, this is from Paxos. Paxos prevails in SEC investigation of BUSD stablecoin. On Tuesday, we received a formal termination notice from the SEC stating, this was only released yesterday, by the way, guys, stating that it will not recommend enforcement action against Paxos Trusted Company in the investigation of BUSD. View the letter on our official website, and this is from the SEC themselves. So we have concluded the investigation as to Paxos Trust Company LLC. Based on the information we have from this date, we do not intend to recommend an enforcement action by the Commission against Paxos Trust. The SEC is literally not there to serve the people, but serve their special interests and governments and the government. And actually, I think Ran brought up a rather interesting point here. How is this okay? The SEC literally destroyed a business that had a total of $20 billion in TVL. and was making over 1 billion by forcing the issuer to shut it down, only then to drop the case after it was dead. It's scandalous, to be honest, guys. Absolutely scandalous. SEC drops investigation against Paxos BUSD. And we looked at yesterday's SARB 121, the bulletin, the banking bulletin, and how the Feds tried to, or not the Fed, sorry, the Fed should be in charge of this, not the SEC, essentially tried to keep small banks out of digital assets, whilst they're basically, and we had news, it was Goldman Sachs is now preparing to enter the digital asset space as one of the largest banks in the world. This is always about enabling them and not kind of retail. You know, it's a monopolized game that is enabled by big government. There's nothing capitalistic about the world that we live in, I'm afraid. If there was, I think a lot more problems would be getting solved, because when there's incentives to solve problems, and it's not just a given, and your incentive to have those problems, anyway, we're getting on. So interestingly as well, so I've interviewed Vinith from Anzen. This is a stablecoin building on top of Cardano. They're now starting up again, and obviously they were going to use Paxos to do this. Very interesting, and they're also, I think, exploring things like gold and stuff like that, tokenized on Cardano. Very interestingly, talk a little bit about the BTC chart. So I do think this is just a broadening channel. It's always amazing, isn't it, when the price starts to go down, people start to go, oh, the price is going down, and they start betting on it. Well, it will turn around. This is a bull market. The trend is your friend. Very interesting, a lot of things that we're looking at. Obviously, we've got a lot of reason to be very bullish on the altcoin market, including the ETPs. Show you guys something I was posting on Patreon. If you've not considered becoming a Patreon, guys, do it. Just get it over and done with. I do truly believe that we have the best kind of group, certainly in the crypto space. In regards to positioning, in regards to a number of things. But this is others. This is everything outside the top 10, nearly a 10x coming for this. Very much in line with everything else that we've looked at. Guys, just hang in there. We're getting that economic data that we want. We're getting the sort of technical narrative that we want. We're getting the sort of legal and regulatory clarity that we want. We just, everything is going in the direction that we want. We always say this, and it winds people up. When it walks, talks, and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Don't start calling it a frog or something like that. It's a duck. Be there or be square, guys. The greatest bull market in history is upon us. It's technically signaled. It's fundamentally signaled. All you've got to do is be in it to win it. And that is not financial advice. Of course, make your own decisions. It's entirely up to you guys what you do with your money. We're not a financial advisor, and we don't profit from anything that you do with it. We're very open and honest and transparent in regards to how we monetize. We have a Patreon, which is well worth the sub. We're releasing courses. We've got websites and things like that. We don't ask people for anything other than what we've the respect in regards to a monthly subscription if you want to become a Patreon and learn a little bit deeper with me. So that's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Have a fantastic Friday, guys. I'll see you all in the next one.